from WWE Backlash to another WWE announcement this week is that they are now an official sponsor in NCAA college football to the Big 12. They will be sponsoring the Big 12 championship football game. A championship belt will go to the winning MVP, I guess, of one of the teams. And there's going to be cross-branded merchandise. Do you see the big – and this is a stupid question. Is the Big 12 the end of the line for WWE, or do you see them just cross-branding over every major college that you can think of?
Oh, they're absolutely going to cross all brands. Like I call them brands because the conferences are their own brand. That's really how college football and college sports is nowadays. Yeah, the Big 12 is, that's a great spot because, as you know, like, one of my other favorite sports programs in college, they happen to play in the Big 12. They're not going to be in that Big 12 championship game, unfortunately, not in football.
But WWE will be branding across all the schools, they've said. So you'll be able to buy every school merchandise with WWE tie-in. Kind of similar to what they're doing with those NFL belts, right? That's what I imagine this is going to be like. They got the tie-in right now with the National Football League. So next stop is belts with all the schools on them.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean SEC is another part of it too. Like SEC is the big one. If they can get SEC, they're going to be in good shape because there's a lot of dollars to be made there.
And I was talking with somebody today, myself, in this conversation. And here's the thing, obviously from a wrestling fan perspective, we look at it from wrestling, and how, it's great that you're expanding, but like you still have to put on wrestling, right? And I guess a lot of this worries me a little bit because once you get so big and once WWE is so worried about getting that name WWE out there, they focus a little bit less necessarily on the product itself and more or less just on the brand. And essentially, like we talked about, right? The Super Bowl is already probably sold out. Tickets are going to go for $20,000. Whatever have with the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter who's playing in it. It doesn't matter if the starting quarterback for both teams is currently not the starting quarterback of any team in the National Football League. He doesn't find out until the day before because of an injury or a whatever. It's going to sell out. It's still the Super Bowl. And I don't want necessarily WWE to do that where they're not putting on great products in terms of wrestling content. But hey, WrestleMania, like we saw this year, WrestleMania is already the hottest selling ticket in WWE history. We have no idea who's going to be competing at it. We have no idea who's going to be there. Roman Reigns could break his leg by that time. Who knows? But because the brand of WWE and WrestleMania, that's what they're focused on. And that when it comes down to putting out a good product, I feel like that could sometimes be secondary, right? So if WWE is worried about getting their name on this Big 12 championship game, they could be focusing a lot more on that than they are what to do with the Cody and Roman, what to do with, LA Knight, stuff like that involves us personally from a wrestling fan perspective. I know you as an NFL football fan are more worried about football. You could probably care less on the popularity of the NFL as much as you like football, right? So it's similar to that with me and WWE. Like, I like that it's popular. That's great. But I just hope that, they don't just see all these riches and all these opportunities to get this brand out there and to sell Hulk Hogan and John Cena and The Rock and the legacy of WWE, because that's a lot of it too, is selling the past, right? Because all these Big 12 kids who are playing in this game are going to be thinking more or less about WWE, as a whole. Like that's where Rock and Hogan and Austin and that kind of nostalgia comes in. Less about the current women's division, less about what they should be doing with the Intercontinental Championship.
But
things like
it's their goal, obviously, and you mentioned it, you alluded to it. They're trying to expand the horizons because they're hoping that when the Big 12 has the championship belt, some fan out there, if it's a kid that just loves, he's a Texas kid, for example, and he loves the Longhorns or whatever the case may be, and he's never watched wrestling a day in his life. He sees this, he's like, oh, that's a cool looking belt. Oh, WWE, what's that? And then it goes down a rabbit hole. Because here's the thing. I'm not naive here. I'm not naive here in saying that there aren't pockets of the population that have literal, like you mentioned, they may know WWE for like Rock, Cena, Hogan, Andre the Giant, and that's it. They don't know anything else. So this could be a platform, to get WWE to the next level. I mean, they're very popular, obviously. But why wouldn't WWE want to try to get into other pockets of the market that maybe they're not touching yet?
I also know, too, that WWE is focused a lot when it comes to developing new talent based on this whole college athlete thing.
Yeah, NIL,
Yeah, which some is a little, I guess, worrisome when it comes to a wrestling fan, because and some wrestling stars in WWE have spoken out about it, essentially because of the fact that to a lot of these people, they see WWE as this great backup plan, and to people like Seth Rollins, it's not a backup plan; it's what you wanted to do your whole
It's the
life.
whole plan. Yeah, it's the real plan. It's the only plan.
I guess my thing is it's great for the Rocks and the Cenas of the world who are in movies, but I will give Rock and Cena credit. They didn't use it as a launching pad to get into movies. They ended up getting into movies, but wrestling, I feel like, was a lot of their number one objectives at one point, right?
It was. It 100% was. And the thing with John Cena and The Rock, they got roles that, they were given opportunities and they knocked it out of the park. And now because they knocked it out of the park, they're getting all these other opportunities. No offense to other wrestlers, but like in the Miz has found his niche. But the Miz is not box office like John Cena and The Rock. Like he's had roles, he's done a decent job, but it hasn't led to him getting like these monster Hollywood roles. Like he has a reality show, he has these different things, so it's all worked out. But like, and that's the point I'm making is The Rock and Cena, like they took their position in WWE. They were able to get some acting gigs, and then they progressed. They got better in the business of acting, and they're one of the those two alone are some of the most sought after celebrities in the movie business right now. So
I don't want to see WWE, I guess, just full of people who are just there using it 100% as a stepping stone.
I agree 100%.
You know what I mean? I don't want WWE to be their
Yeah.
minor league team. You know what I mean? As they move on to bigger and better things. I don't want them to be interviewed during their time in WWE and talk about, by the time next year, where do I see myself? Not as the Intercontinental Champion, but as star of this movie or playing for this football team or whatever. It's fine if there's one here and there like that. But I don't want essentially it to be, this is great, sweet. I can do this if I don't get drafted, or that kind of thing. So. But WWE, obviously, they are expanding to a point, and I've said this to you before, Brandon, in all walks of life. And if you're a WWE fan, and you've been a WWE fan, do things while you can, because I don't foresee WWE events getting cheaper anytime soon. I don't foresee, WrestleMania every year is getting at an all-time high, and let's be real. I started going to WrestleMania a lot of times because I like WWE, but also because it's an affordable. It's an everyman's Super Bowl, right? The Super Bowl is priced out of regular fans. We can't go to those things if you're not celebrity or a multimillionaire or somebody who just has a whole boatload of money and wants to be seen. And unfortunately, things like WWE are starting to slowly creep into that category, right? With the get-in price for WrestleMania this upcoming year right now, like $300 if you wanted to go, more than that if you want to go for both days. Yeah. And that's for just the absolute most garbage seat, right? So it's starting to creep into that Royal Rumbles and, back in the day, ticket prices were just ticket prices. You could get into the Survivor Series for $45, or you can get into SummerSlam for $25, and we're getting to a point, like I said, where we do more international pay-per-views, which make the pay-per-views in North America more slim, and it just jacks up the price. Obviously, the fact that they get more and more notoriety and sell at these arenas. I mean, I guess it's good. I mean, I guess that's the one nostalgia. We have nostalgia for the Attitude Era, but the one thing that is not lost on me is that we really weren't able to do things during the Attitude Era. And while we watch it and we enjoy it, we don't know what it was like to actually have to attempt to go to events during the Attitude Era when these stadiums, as they say, were sold out in less than 1 hour. Well, I don't live in New York City or Boston, so I couldn't wait outside the ticket windows in 1997 to get King of the Ring tickets. So I would have been,
how cool would that have been? How cool would that have been? Like, that would have been so freaking cool. Like, just like our childhood, like, cause you and I are pretty close in age. Mm-hmm. We've talked about how great that era was, but I'll be honest with you, I never got to experience a big show during that era, like in person. Like I got to watch it on pay-per-view and whatnot. So like I got to experience it from that avenue. But you're right. Like how cool would that have been if you could have been like waiting outside in line at waiting for your tickets?
Well, I mean, I don't know how cool. That could have been not cool if you were a fan and you're trying to get tickets and it's like impossible to get your hands on them. I went to a Monday Night Raw in 2001, right before WrestleMania 17. That was my first show ever attending for WWE. And we had nosebleed seats in what was an absolutely packed arena. I go to Albany all the time now for Monday Night Raws, and it seems like a different place. It seems like a night and day difference in attending that Monday Night Raw crowd. I'd hold that up against like pay-per-view crowds of recent times.
Yeah.
When it comes to there was not a seat to be had kind of thing. There was nothing, and we bought tickets. I just remember. I mean, I didn't have to get the tickets, but the show was in March, and I remember it was announced to me that we got the tickets in November. So a good 4 or 5 months ahead of time for that show.
Yeah.
And we had to go down, in person and buy them at our local Ticketmaster outlet, that kind of thing. But
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, WrestleMania 20, for example, I don't know how I would have ever got tickets to that if I could have wanted to go, right? And I knew people who did actually attend WrestleMania 20 at Madison Square Garden, and they said, yeah, I knew someone who charged me only $200, which would have been a very large sum at that time, to go. So I'm just saying we might be approaching those days where pay-per-views are not just something you could just be like, yeah, I got $20 and a tank full of gas. Let's go. Like it might be.
It don't work anymore like that. It don't work like that anymore.
And I've noticed that when it comes to buying WrestleMania and Royal Rumble tickets, I have to get the pre-sale. I have to be online as soon as they go on sale. Like it's not like, and I'll say I went to Royal Rumble 2019. I paid $40 for a seat, similar to the seat that I'm going to be sitting in at this upcoming Royal Rumble. And I bought tickets, months after they had been on sale. And like I said, this year I got them before they go on sale to the general public, waiting in line to get them, making sure I swooped them up as soon as I can, kind of thing. And then find out, a couple days later that they're on secondary market for 2-3 times the price I paid. So I hope we don't get into a point where it starts to price out fans. I will say that an upcoming house show. Yeah, I mean, upcoming house show in Utica, New York. I was just curious on some of the pricing, and from the ticket to WWE itself, the cheapest ticket to get in right now is $40, and they have the two kinds of experiences where you can get your picture taken in front of like the ring and a ringside seat to go with it, and get like a souvenir item. $500 for for a floor seat.
Bring out of here with that.
For a floor seat. And to be able to have like a little experience where you get like a signed poster and you get to maybe get a picture taken with, I don't know, Damian Priest in the back, something like that. $500 for Utica, New York to do that. Yeah.
That's not even going to be that great of a show. It's just going to be your average live event. Like to me, that's crazy. Like
Roman Reigns you're not meeting Roman Reigns or anything like that. It's not that kind of event.
You'll meet like the street
main evented.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I mean, $500.
Yeah.
For that kind of like, and then just for the seat alone, if you didn't want the experience, the floor seat alone is like $125 plus fees.